Meteorologist Colleen Campbell, and there's not too much going on in the tropics, but some interesting developments that we had overnight in case you missed it. And of course, we're going to be talking about a coastal low that will be riding up from the Carolinas to Virginia, eventually Jersey, that will cause some problems out that way. And then, of course, we will wrap up with talking about some of our local weather. I think many of you are going to enjoy this forecast ahead for this weekend. So let's get into it. We're going to start off with the list of names. Anybody that joined me here yesterday, I said, we're not getting a Karen. Well, there's a catch. The National Hurricane Center did tag Karen as a subtropical low. What that means is the core of the system a little bit cooler, of course it's in cooler waters, than a typical tropical system, but it has those characteristics where it has been classified as a subtropical low. So we do officially have Karen. Jerry is still out there as well as a tropical storm. We're going to go over that. But otherwise, we're about halfway through the list of names here for the Atlantic hurricane season. And yeah, we still have till the end of November to go. If we can keep this trend of these troughs that keep dipping down into the area, that will really be our saving grace. It has been, at least for this hurricane season so far, where most of the systems have been out in the Atlantic and taking that famous recurve. All right, so let's get a basin overview here so we can see what's going on. Tropical update, you're looking at, there it goes, Tropical Storm Jerry and Subtropical Karen. So Karen is all the way up, making her way over to Portugal, while Tropical Storm Jerry is moving away from the Leeward Islands. Now, I want to focus on Jerry because Jerry is, after all, more of a tropical system than Karen ever has been. But Jerry is also encountering some wind shear. We're going to go over that in just a second too. But notice that there are some showers that are being brought to portions of Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and of course the Leeward Islands, even as Jerry moves away. Now you can see on the northwestern and western side there, you don't see a ton of convection. What you're looking for would be those bright colors within the clouds, and you really don't see much happening there. And that's because it is encountering some drier air, some wind shear, and it's just really struggling to strengthen into a Category 1 hurricane. In fact, the winds went down from yesterday. Yesterday we had winds with Jerry around 65 miles per hour at its peak there, and now we have winds at 50 miles per hour. So Jerry did weaken a bit. It is still moving fairly fast at 16 miles per hour to the northwest, and the pressure's at 1,006 millibars. So getting into the spaghetti models for Jerry, I want to put this at a pause because most of the models are in a pretty good agreement. We still have a few that are minor outliers there. Some of the models want to bring this slightly out to the west, and one model or two wants to bring this slightly more out to the east. And then from there, how sharp is that turn? Well, the important part here would be, you see that little speckle on your screen below where it says pressure. That would be Bermuda. So Jerry is turning just ahead of Bermuda, which is great. Bermuda will likely still have some wind and some high surf, perhaps some coastal flooding for portions of the island there, but overall not looking at a major impact for Bermuda. So that's great. But Jerry will make that recurve out to sea, that famous recurve that we've seen so many times this season. And why have we seen that? Well, we keep having these troughs that dip down into the area, and we're going to go over that because we have another one that's working through our area currently. As we look at Tropical Storm Jerry's cone, you see that it keeps that strength of that 50 to 60 mile per hour winds all throughout tomorrow. Tomorrow we could see some strengthening. Actually, no, this latest forecast that I'm seeing, yeah, it looks like it likely will not strengthen to a Category 1. It's still possible. We would have to get winds up to 74 miles per hour for it to turn into a Category 1 hurricane. What's happening here, the models are sniffing out that it's just going to keep encountering some wind shear, and it's just not going to have much luck strengthening. But it will try. It will certainly try. You see the winds do start to get a little bit stronger as we move into tomorrow. So we'll see if we get any strengthening out of Jerry. But yeah, it would have to get up to 74 mile per hour winds. Either way, it's taking that recurve that we like to see, and it's currently moving away from Puerto Rico, away from from the Virgin Islands and as well as the Leeward Islands, which probably had the most effect of Jerry. Also, those tropical storm watches and warnings have been expired. So currently there are no watches and warnings in place for Jerry. And if you're wondering about Karen, Karen is way far up to the north. We're talking by the Azores and going toward Portugal, so we don't have to worry about Karen either. All right, I want to point out some things to you here. Let me play this a little bit in time. We're going to go into this weekend because I want to point out this trough that's digging into our area. Look at that. Pay attention. These are the upper level winds, and you can really see how this trough digs in. Look how far those winds are extending down, basically down to the Keys, right? And then the winds do start to move back up, and then they take this nice little curve here. So all of this shear that you see up to the north here, that's what the models are picking up on, that Jerry is going to get wrapped up in, and that's why it's going to have some difficulty strengthening beyond that. Here's the cone going, Jerry, as it goes into the weekends. I just got an update from the National Hurricane Center. Yeah, heavy rain over the Leeward Islands. We knew that. All right, so Jerry will continue moving up to the north and kind of enter into this field of wind, if you will, and it's really not going to have much luck trying to strengthen there. Now, during this time, this initial period, yeah, like I said, maybe the next 24, 48 hours, if it could get those 74-mile-per-hour winds, then we may see some strengthening. Also, I want to point out this right here, because you're going to be hearing a lot about a coastal low that will be forming, and we're going to talk about that soon after the break. But this is a coastal low that we're keeping an eye on for our friends around the Carolinas, moving into Virginia, and eventually the Delmarva area, Delaware, Maryland, and New Jersey. Some of the beaches there really are going to be faced with erosion as well as rough surf and some coastal flooding. Because of that coastal low that's trying to form. As we go on throughout the week, I mean, the wind shear really stays pretty strong. And look at the Gulf. The Gulf, we also have just enough shear where things will remain quiet enough. However, we do want to pay attention to the Caribbean because you see there's not as much wind shear down there. And this is usually where we do see some activity. The GFS, we know how the GFS likes to kind of hint at things a little bit earlier than some of the other models, and a lot of time, you know, it can be a flop. But the GFS is picking up on something trying to spin up close to the 17th of October around the Keys, but will that turn tropical? The Euro is just not buying it. So we'll see what happens with that. But right now there's nothing that we have to worry about locally. Here's another way to look at the wind. So this isn't necessarily looking at the wind shear, but this is looking at the actual winds that we have in our atmosphere, a little bit closer to the surface, if you will. So we're watching for that coastal low to form right around here. And again, we will kind of go into how they will be affected going up the coast. But then as we move into the next couple of days, you really started to you start to see it take better shape, I should say. You see this right here? Yeah. So this is what everybody is, when you hear people talking about nor'easter, anybody that's visiting from up north, or you may be watching just to see what the weather is going to be like up that way. Maybe you live down here now. I'm a transplant myself. That is that nor'easter that everybody's talking about. But being a northerner myself, most people associate a nor'easter with cold weather, right? Well, it will be a little bit cooler in the center. That's why it's not a tropical cyclone. But also notice how the winds aren't so close to the center, and this is how kind of spread out more. Most of the stronger winds are up to the north here. But you see in the pressure, we have this broader low that's trying to spin up. So that's why it's not really considered a tropical system. But as we move into the next couple of days, yeah, those winds really are going to be rocking closer to the coast there. Look at that. Very strong winds out that way. And the problem with that is it will cause some erosion as well as some rough waves. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a short little commercial break, and then when we come back, we'll go into those wave heights a little bit more and talk about the forecast, and then we'll see where to go from there.
Weather impacts your life every day. I'm 10 Tampa Bay Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins. You can find out about any change in the weather with our 10 Tampa Bay Plus app. Just stream for the latest forecast, any weather impact alert, updated tropics forecast, and take a live look at the radar. Anytime you want, and it's free. It's just one more way we're helping you stay informed, prepared, and connected. Stream 10 Tampa Bay Plus.
Jeopardy is for everybody,
That's amazing. Oh, yeah.
with players just like you.
Paramedic, retired teacher, psychiatrist.
I'm a little bit competitive.
That's the spirit.
Watch their victories
We have a giant killer.
and heartbreaks.
Oh, no.
The next super champion could be anyone.
It's almost like a superhero origin story.
It could be you.
Oh, wow.
It's all happening on Jeopardy!
Jeopardy weeknights at 7:30 right here on 10 Tampa Bay.
I was driving when an 18-wheeler turned in front of me. I locked up my brakes, bam, slid dead into the truck. Bloody and hurt, I was loaded into an ambulance, and that's when I put out my phone and called attorney Dan Newton. Dan jumped right on it. He was in my corner the whole way. He fought the fight from beginning to end and got me $1 million.
Involved in a car accident? Call me now at 813-888-8000.
Dan, your awesome team deserves 6 stars. Thank you for winning my case.
Before hurricane season hits, it's time to prep your home. Secure outdoor equipment and generators. Clear debris from around your AC unit and schedule a pre-storm HVAC and electrical inspection.
Those are some great tips, and Cool Today is here to help you weather the storm. For over 60 years, we've been here to help Floridians with their cooling, plumbing, and electrical needs. We can help you prepare, protect, and repair your home. Call 888-40
All right, welcome back. So when we left you off before break, we were talking about this coastal low that's forming. Is it going to form as a tropical system? Actually, no. Even though it is in the warm Gulf Stream right now, and yes, the Gulf Stream extends to the other coast of Florida, it's not going to be a tropical system because the setup is just a little bit different. First of all, it's going to encounter some cooler air, so that means the core of the system just not going to have those tropical characteristics. However, it will be producing similar effects where it will have, these coastal areas will have the strong winds as well as the rough waves, coastal erosion, flooding, you get the picture. So let's go into the wind. So pay attention to the low. That's basically, we have this diagram on here so you can see, and the wind speeds all along the coast. So this low is in the process of kind of forming right now, just off of our coast. And it is bringing some rockier weather to all along from the Treasure Coast to all the way up to our first coast. So you can see St. Augustine there. It's 18-mile-per-hour winds as we move into today. They've had pretty gusty winds. By the way, the winds that we've had across our area recently are actually tied to this area low pressure and also an area high pressure up to the north, and that's creating a tight pressure gradient. So it's been windy here as well as on the east coast of Florida. But as we move into tonight, look at that. We have 25-mile-per-hour winds, some stronger gusts at times. And here's that low really starting to take shape. Watch it as it climbs up the coast. Now, again, this is where it becomes a nor'easter because notice that the winds are not the strongest winds, which we depicted by those bright colors, the reds and the yellows. That's what you're looking for when you're looking for those stronger winds. Plus, you see Myrtle Beach there, 32-mile-per-hour gust. Hatteras around 40-mile-per-hour winds. And guess what? 40-mile-per-hour winds would be, if this was a tropical system, considered a tropical storm, right? Tropical storm winds are around 40 miles per hour. But notice that the winds are more extended up to the north instead of compact around the center of that low. That's why this is really being classified as a nor'easter and not a tropical system. They're all cyclones at the end of the day, right? But they're just set up a little bit differently. Now, again, my northern friends, I know you're probably thinking, well, nor'easters are usually with snow. Well, yes, because again, usually you see these typically in the fall and the winter season months. But this is just the way it's, forming down to the south, and then it will climb up the coast. And the way that it's structured, it is more of a nor'easter than it would be a tropical system. The tropical characteristics just aren't there. But the effects are the same, where we have those 38 to 40 mile per hour winds. Look at that. We could get up to 60 mile per hour winds around the Carolinas, the barrier islands out there. We've been showing you videos all throughout the week where these structures, these homes that are no longer livable, they are facing erosion along those barrier islands. Barrier islands change, right? They change shape, the coastline changes. It's a natural thing to occur, but when you have these systems, it certainly makes the situation worse, right? When we have these very strong winds. And the coastal areas of the Carolinas have been getting hit with these strong winds again and again with these systems that have been just hanging out in the Atlantic. This is that coastal storm that's going to bring basically the same effects as a tropical cyclone would, but the winds kind of running ahead of the center of that low. And yeah, we could have winds up to 50, 60 miles per hour at times. You see, as we climb a little bit further up the coast, here we are now, pay attention to, that's Ocean City. I believe that's Ocean City, Maryland, where that plot is. It's a little bit too far. Well, it could be Jersey, I guess. It depends where we clicked it, but I would think Ocean City, Jersey, actually, since it's closer to the coast. But 50 mile per hour winds, that's not good. I mean, I know Wildwood beaches up that way fairly well, and the shoreline changes, right? There's been projects to put these jetties back in place. Years ago, there was this movement to basically take away the jetties because it wasn't part of a natural landscape. But the problem is, as we've seen in the Carolinas, is that when we get these systems, whether it be tropical or not, unfortunately, some of those structures that have been built when that was more stable land are now falling into the ocean. And you have unnatural things like washers and dryers and refrigerators going into the water. Let's check out these wave heights. So again, this is moving into tomorrow morning around 3 a.m. That low, you see it's spinning down there where the wave heights are between 9 to 10 feet. Just south of Jacksonville. That would probably be the West Palm Beach area. Just actually north of the West Palm Beach area, maybe like Daytona, the Space Coast. Notice the 9 to 10 foot wave heights that are offshore. Don't pay attention to, we're not looking up north right now. We're just looking here. Let me get my pointer right around here. That's where you can faintly see that low right here. Let's move forward a little bit more. All right, here we go. Now the low is climbing up the coast. We're starting to see those greater wave heights. Again, stronger winds up here now. We have wave heights 10 to 15 feet offshore. So again, that's not good. Just rock in this area. And especially if we have winds coming onshore here, that has been the problem again and again for these barrier islands, not just in the Carolinas, but all of these locations, right? These are popular tourist spots. And that's where they are battling erosion in some of these areas because they're just getting battered with these strong waves. Now, I had this paused at one more spot because, again, you get the picture, but basically we'll have wave heights 10 to 15 feet possible, especially where you see those brighter colors as we move into the next couple of days. Basically, Sunday, Monday is when it will be closer to the Delmarva, the Delaware, Maryland, and Jersey Shore beaches. All right, so what's a benefit for us? I hate to say that there's any benefit from a coastal low like this, but let's start off with Futurecast, right? We have our front moving through our area today. There's that area low pressure, and again, this is drawn by us here at the station, so that low, you will see it move a little bit, but this front is passing through our area right now. A couple coastal showers for some of you moving into this evening. And then we have this low that's going to be climbing up the coast. There it goes, bringing some rain around I-95. And then moving forward, it will eventually make its journey up to the north. There it goes. It gets taken away with that area, with that front, that's moving by. And notice how we have that counterclockwise flow because it's still low pressure, whether it's tropical or not. It's not going to be tropical, and that's going to push a lot of rain along the coast as well. So places like Wilmington, really going to get battered with some heavy downpours at times. And again, moving into Virginia, Maryland, New Jersey, basically all those shore points. All right, so getting into how it's going to affect us. We actually get a benefit from it. So right now, again, notice this area of brown that's placed over the northeast. That would be an area of high pressure. In the meantime, we have the low that's trying to spin up. That's creating this pressure gradient. You see those white lines on your screen. That's areas of pressure, isobars. And when they're closer together, that's when we have some breezier conditions. Well, notice how the high slides on out of there. There's our low, our coastal low that's forming the nor'easter. And look at this, that brown, that drier air. That means a drier atmosphere for us. Now, some of the moisture will kind of linger as that low spins away. Again, it's just the way that the air flows around that counterclockwise rotation. But overall, we will have a dry and beautiful forecast, not just moving into this weekend, but really this upcoming week. Lower rain chances, lower humidity, really going to feel fantastic. I said yesterday, if you haven't put out your fall decorations yet or your Halloween decorations, you probably want to this weekend. You're going to get that little Florida fall taste and you're going to be like, yeah, let's go. All right, we're going to go to a quick another break and then we'll just wrap up with local weather.
I was driving when an 18-wheeler turned in front of me. I locked up my brakes, bam, slid dead into the truck. Bloody and hurt, I was loaded into an ambulance, and that's when I put out my phone and called attorney Dan Newton. Dan jumped right on it. He was in my corner the whole way. He fought the fight from beginning to end and got me $1 million.
Involved in a car accident? Call me now at 813-888-8000.
Dan, your awesome team deserves 6 stars. Thank you for winning my case.
Weather impacts your life every day. I'm 10 Tampa Bay Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins. You can find out about any change in the weather with our 10 Tampa Bay Plus app. Just stream for the latest forecast, any weather impact alert, updated tropics forecast, and take a live look at the radar. Anytime you want, and it's free. It's just one more way we're helping you stay informed, prepared, and connected. Stream 10 Tampa Bay Plus.
And it's like a movie script. It's family rivalry, betrayal, and murder.
They cover America's most fascinating true crime stories.
One way or another, that's an execution.
Absolutely.
Every case.
Who would want to hurt him?
Every clue.
This is dynamite for an investigator.
Every mystery that keeps you guessing until the very end.
Does everyone's jaws drop?
Dateline, 5 times a week.
Watch weekdays at 4 on 10 Tampa Bay.
Windows are created and installed with different levels of quality. Unique quality that can withstand the tropical climate. Our installers only install PGT custom windows and doors, so we are the go-to experts. Don't take my word for it. We have been named Best of Tampa Bay 3 years in a row, Reader's Choice in Sarasota 3 years in a row, and nationally recognized as Window and Door Dealer of the Year. Price is what you pay, but value is what you get. Give WeatherTight Windows a call today, and don't forget the cookies.
All right, welcome back. So looking at our local weather here, we have our surface map that we're starting off with, basically what's the atmosphere set up with. And again, there's that low that's trying to form. You see that counterclockwise rotation starting to take place, producing some showers across